welcome to our match review show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. Apologies for not doing the match reaction yesterday. Got a bit busy with a few things at home, so we're back today where we will review the game and give you sort of my take in terms of what happened and some of the highlights of the game. Plus, we'll talk about some transfers as there has been some official news that was confirmed on the Liverpool X account about 20 minutes ago. So we'll present that on the screen. Plus, there's other rumours circulating in regards to potential signings, which I'm sure we can discuss in more detail. So let's start with the game that took place on Saturday evening. And let me say it like this: was a victory ever in doubt? Of course it was. I didn't think we'd get a result due to Newcastle's improvement in the last few weeks, but Liverpool certainly showed up in this fixture. But in terms of the game, Newcastle almost took the lead with a Harvey Barnes free kick that smashes it onto the post. Ekitike, who was definitely up for this game with the speculation that he was close to joining Newcastle last summer. He had a couple of shots early on, but was denied by the keeper. Then, unfortunately, Liverpool got hit with a blow as boyhood red Anthony Gordon is doing everything in his power to engineer a move to Anfield. And as always, he steps up and scores against us. Now, question marks, possibly in regards to Kirker's defending, but, I wouldn't be too harsh. He went through his legs, and also it was a decent strike from Anthony Gordon. So in that moment, Newcastle took the lead, and normally Liverpool fold. They don't really counter or put pressure on the opponent. They seem to get, a bit complacent, or they just sit back and expect something to happen out of nothing. But this was a different scenario. As minutes later, we got the equalizer, plus we took the lead before half time. And this was the Ekitike show. For his first goal, my client, Florian Wirtz, shows his quick feet as he drives inside the box, squares it to Ekitike, who scores from close range to make it 1-1. Then the second goal, I can't lie, it gave me Thierry Henry vibes, the way he finished it. But in terms of the build-up play, great pass from Kirkes to Ekitike from his own half. And what I loved about the goal is that he didn't need to take too many touches. It was literally one close control, and then the second touch took it past the defender and hit the finish with the outside of his boot. And look, he's on fire right now. That's Ekitike's 10th league goal of the season, so not bad at all from the Frenchman. But in the second half, for me, he should have got a hat trick as he got past Dan Burn with complete ease, which you don't really see too often. He's through on goal, but the finish where he tries to place it in the bottom corner, gets it all wrong, unfortunately, drags it wide. And that's something I think Ekitike needs to work on a bit more. He's got great finishing instinct in front of goal, but I believe in those crunching moments, I think he needs to be a bit more calm and collected, in terms of producing ice cold finishes. But I think that will come with more experience. Newcastle almost got themselves another goal as Barnes hits a lethal shot with his left boot. But fair play to our sensational goalkeeper, Alisson Becker. He produces a fantastic save to parry the ball away from goal. And from a Newcastle point of view, that was a missed opportunity as Liverpool scored another goal after Fial misplaced his pass. Salah finds Wirtz inside the box, and my client, as always, slots it into the bottom corner to make it 3-1. And I'll be expecting to receive a paycheck to my address for that goal. Now, the question I have to ask, where are all the Wirtz haters now? Everyone's, ridiculing my client, calling him Ben 10 early in the season because he didn't get a goal or assist in the first 10 games. You know the saying, patience is a virtue. And I knew these days were coming. So shame on you if you doubted my boy Florian. But back to the game, and more importantly, Liverpool got the fourth goal. And I'm pleased it was Ibu Konate who scored it. As we all know, he's going through a very difficult time with his father recently passing away. So that goal was a dedication to his father, who will be looking down from above. And also, lovely to see all the players running up to Konate and embracing him in that moment. So look, overall, I'm very pleased with the result and the manner that we played as well. Unfortunately, in terms of the table, we're still in sixth place as United got a victory and Chelsea beat West Ham as well. But the positive is that the team is making progress, and let's hope we can continue to climb up the table and secure a top four finish this season. So that's my match review. So let's go through some of the comments and see what everyone has to say, and then we will continue and talk about transfers as it's been surprisingly busy the last couple of days. Uh, I'm sure you guys are aware the transfer deadline closed earlier on this evening. So let's go from the top. Ozan, big up Ozan as always. He said XTK and Verts are the future of this club, and maybe Sabozlai, them three. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Uh, Bo, big up Bo. They said no need to take off Ozzie. We know these players are love playing against big teams, um, but it's when we face Sunderland, not Forest and West Ham. Arsenal will be tested. I fully expect we smash City as well. You seem to have changed your tune, Bo. If you feel like we're going to smash City this week, sounds like you might be slotted in. Who knows? Bo also goes on to say, and where have those days of paying just like 8 mil for Robert gone? Is Jacquet worth that much money, Ozzy? Those days are gone, unfortunately, Bo. We don't really get that sort of transfer fees unless you're buying from a lower club. But then again, when it comes to Liverpool, if Liverpool come knocking on the door for a player, the prices are inflated straight away. So, we have to kind of forget about that because those are times that have gone past us. In the modern day, the transfer fees are so inflated just because of how players are being moved on, especially in recent years. I think that Neymar deal from PSG all those years ago completely catapulted the transfer market. And now you're paying over the odds for players. Now, is he worth 60 million? No, he's not worth 60 million. But that is the price that you are potentially paying for potential, quite frankly. So uh, we'll speak about Jacquet very, very soon. But we have spoken about him in the past. We've been linked with him for quite a few months, and he's a player that I do like to look up. So I think he's a good player. I think he's a good signing in terms of valuation of money. Yeah, I don't think a lot of players are actually the right valuation when it comes to transfer fees. But that's just the market. That's the going rate, and you have to pay that in order to get the talent that you want through the door. Boston City want Alonso after the season, Ozzy. What will it say for us, Ozzy? Well, if that happens, then that's on us that we didn't take advantage of the situation where Alonso has been dismissed as Real Madrid manager. He's available, so this would have been the time to have had discussions with him. So if that does occur, I would be very, very disappointed. The only way I would feel not satisfied, but the only way the club can make up for that mistake would be if they got Luis Enrique. That's the only way I would look at it in the positive. If we don't get either, then yeah, that's a big issue in my books. Honestly, if City get Alonso after getting Gay and Semenyo, these are all of Aussie's targets. Yeah, to be fair, Gay, Alonso, and yeah, they were all my targets. Yeah, so you are right on that one. But he's still got his clients though, and Verts and Slot. Slot is not my client. Verts is my client, and I'd say Sabozla is one of my clients as well. So yeah, manager, no, he's not my client at all. Just me that aren't so happy with the sign, Ozzy. Uh, the reaction that I'm seeing online and on other fan channels, I think most of us are quite pleased with the signing. Also, you've got to consider the fact that Chelsea were very much hot on the heels to sign Jacquet as well. So you have to look at that in terms of his ability. I feel like he's got the potential to be a top defender for years to come. So look, I feel like you have to put the transfer fee to one side. I would look at it, look, it's not our money, so we can't really, feel the impact of that transfer. But you have to look at the market. Of course, just look at what United did a couple of years ago. They signed Lenny Euro, and similar kind of profile in terms of both are very, very highly rated in France. And of course, Euro's career hasn't probably gone to plan, but that might be due to injuries and him being at a club where it's a bit all over the place, to be quite frank. So no, I'm pleased. If you're not happy, that's your opinion. I would say try and watch a couple of games if you can, or even if you watch compilation. I always feel like fans will ridicule and say, you can't really judge a player based on compilations, but I feel like you can still get an understanding or some sort of inkling about a player in terms of what they can bring to the table. And I feel like he has a lot of qualities that I feel like will help us moving forward as a team. And I think it will give us a different dimension in the backline, which I will speak about in more detail shortly. We'll also be on time. Sorry, apologies, I was about 5 minutes late, but hopefully you guys are still locked in. Um, Daz said, big up Ozzy, hope you're well today. Big up Daz, I'm doing well, hope you are good as well. Ozzy with that slot in fade today. Slot in fade, forget that. Slot fade. I don't think I've ever called my hairstyle slot fade. If I shaved it all off, then yeah, you can call it. You can reference the slot, but slot wish he had hair like mine, to be fair. Um, Thoughts on not signing a senior centre back. We'll speak about that soon as well, because we were linked with a defender that I thought would have been a not a great signing, but it would have been a decent signing for the short term. So we will talk about that very shortly as well. Why is Jacquet not joining this window? Rons were not willing to sanction a move right now. And I think that's what probably put us in more favor of signing him. Chelsea we're probably pushing for a move right now, but we probably came in and said, look, we'll let him, stay for the remainder of the season, and then we'll make the move in the summer. So that's probably gave us the advantage in negotiations, I say. Um, but of course, it would have been useful if he had come in now. But it's as I'm pleased that we've secured a player of his quality, because he's one of the highly sought after defenders in world football. The likes of Bayern Munich and Arsenal were very much strongly linked with him as well. Chelsea were probably the front runners to get his signature, as they've been on his heel or on the pursuit for quite a few months now. So yeah, I think it's a good coup from Liverpool. Were you jumping up and down when the news broke, Ozzy? In regards to the signing, no, I wouldn't say I was jumping up and down. Um, it caught me by surprise because we were linked to him earlier this month and in previous months, but I didn't expect us to agree a deal so soon, if that makes sense. But in terms of player, I do rate him. I think if we had signed someone like Schlotterbeck or Bastoni, that would probably get me a bit more, off my seat, only because they are experienced and established players that I think would definitely improve our team right away. Jacquet, I would still say, is one for the future. But when I say one for the future, I'm not talking about in years to come. I would say, next season he can definitely challenge for a role and, you know, try and get into the starting lineup. Were Jacquet a slot signing? No, he wasn't a slot signing because slot doesn't make the signings. He would have been a collective decision from the transfer committee that, of course, involves Arne Slot. So that would have been, a collective decision to go ahead and sign Jacquet. Are Slot the face of this new project in the next 5-10 years, Ozzy? I hope not, personally. I don't think he should be the face of this project. But you never know, because remember, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes were the two individuals that appointed Slot as the Liverpool head coach, and of course the main man as part of this new project, because that's what they are part of as well. So I don't know. It's going to be very tricky to say. I think once the season concludes, we'll have a better idea in terms of the club's stance and the future of Arne Slot as well. Of course, we're a few months away from that, so we'll just have to sit back, wait, and see. Now, moving on. We've always touched on it a bit, so let's talk in more detail, and that is in regards to Jeremy Jacquet. So the club have literally confirmed the transfer about 20-30 minutes ago to say that an agreement is in place. Now, in terms of the transfer fee involved, it's 60 million euros plus 10 million add-ons, so that is roughly about 50 odd million plus 5 million. So about 55 million, I would say, is the region in terms of the transfer fee that has helped us secure his services. Of course, I would say it's 50 million. Add-ons always depend on the success of the club as well as his individual performances. Personal terms have been agreed. I believe he's at Liverpool right now doing a medical, so I'm sure that's been concluded as well. So the agreement is done for the summer of 2026, and Liverpool have signed one of the most talented centre backs in the world. So my thoughts on the player in general. Uh, I've spoken about him before, so he wouldn't be a new name for us on the channel. I think he's a fantastic profile for us in terms of the way he plays. He's a ball playing centre back, which is something that I feel like we really need in our squad. I mentioned this last week when Gravenberch played centre back, and I said that even though that's not Gravenberch's natural position, you could just see the way he excelled in that role because of his ball playing ability. And I feel like this day and age, your defenders should be playing like midfielders when it comes to um, being a technical player or ball playing ability or distribution in general. So I'm pleased that we've signed that type of profile, not just a big, solid, physical defender. I want my defender to be able to, break the lines and carry the ball like what Matic used to do for us. I want that type of profile, and I think Jacquet does fit that bill. He's a player that is capable of playing in the back three, which is the current formation that Rons are playing right now. He plays in the central position of that, but can easily play on the left or the right side. And he's comfortable playing in a back four as well. On paper, I would say Jacquet is the perfect third choice defender where he won't be under too much pressure. Of course, there will be an element of pressure because we've signed him for a big transfer fee, £60 million or £55 million, for a 20-year-old centre back is a huge amount of money. And there will be slight pressure in terms of the price tag. But I think in terms of footballing terms, he won't be under pressure to deliver or start right away. And I feel like we can slowly transition him into the starting 11 once we feel like he's ready. And if you look at the way he plays, I believe he has the potential to be one of the best defenders for years to come. Now, in terms of the potential cons, I would say for this transfer, and a big question I would have to ask you guys in the chat, is he being signed as an additional defender to our squad, or is he coming in to be a direct replacement for Konate? Now, a few months ago, when I first mentioned Jacquet's name in one of our transfer talk shows, that was the notion where Liverpool were looking at him as a Konate replacement rather than a player being added to the squad. Now, if you want my true opinion, I still believe that Konate will leave this summer, but I don't think Jacquet replaces Konate in the lineup. On paper, I guess he would be our third choice defender. And on top of that, I strongly believe that we will sign a quality and experienced defender that will slot into the first team lineup straight away. So someone like a Schlotterbeck, I feel like will fit that bill completely. So that's what I'm envisioning, and that's why I said signing Jacquet is the right profile for the club. Now, in terms of the transfer fee, 55, £60 million is a big gamble for a player of his age, only 20 years of age. He's only played about 30 odd games in the first team for runs. Um, but as I mentioned earlier on, similar scenario to Leniero, although I think the difference between the two players is that Euro had played more games before he made that move to Manchester United. And Euro also played European football, which Jacquet hasn't achieved as of yet. But I think in terms of how he played, Jacquet has the skill set to excel and make a name for himself. So overall, I'm happy with the signing. I've spoken about him previously, and I've seen quite a few compilations prior to the signing. So before this news broke a few days ago, and I always thought, he would be a good player for us. So I guess we've got a new player to look forward to next season. Now, before we move on and speak about the next sort of transfer target, I guess, Let me just go through some of the comments there. Daz, is Jacquet the next Ibu Ozzie? I would say they're different profiles. Ibu is more of a physical and dominant type of defender, whereas Jacquet is more of a ball playing midfielder. Sorry, defender. So in terms of players we've had in recent years, maybe think of Matip, where defensively sound, tall and rangy, which is what Jacquet. Jacquet is about 6'3", 6'4", but he's very quick on the ground. So he'll definitely will be difficult to beat on the channels because he can attack the channels very well. In terms of aerial duels, he's able to handle himself in that scenario as well. So I feel like he's got more of a technical game in comparison to Konate, but at the same time, I still feel like he has the defensive capabilities to be a success at Liverpool. So not quite a direct replacement in terms of profile, but I guess on paper, he might be replacing him. But I don't feel like Jacko is going to start alongside Virgil van Dijk if Konate leaves. I think it would be another defender, and Jacko will be a player on the bench on paper. And of course, there'll be a lot of rotation between the three, plus Joe Gomez, who a lot of people think he'll be sold. I don't think Joe Gomez will be sold in the summer. I think he will pretty much uh, complete his final year of his contract, and then he'll leave on a free transfer. That's the way I'm looking at it for a couple of reasons. The homegrown quota being one of them, and I don't think we will get decent amount of money. But then again, you never know. AC Milan were very close to signing him last summer, but we pretty much blocked the move. So you never know. But I do feel like defense is an area where we need to you know, add some reinforcements. He needs surgery like the midfield did a couple of years ago. So it's going to be very, very busy for Liverpool in regards to signing the right profile players in the coming window. Dilly Steve's asked, do you rate Simicast Ozzie? I do, but I've never really thought that Simicast would be good enough to be the first choice left back. When we signed him, I was very pleased with the signing because he had similarities to Robertson in terms of his crossing ability, but I always saw it as a player that can provide quality depth in the squad rather than someone that can surpass Robertson. So I think he's a good player. Um, and that's pretty much it, to be fair. I don't think he's good enough to be our sort of first choice left back. Well said, I find it really hard to support these days where Slot is here. If he's here for 26 years like Ferguson, could that happen, Ozzy? I doubt it. I don't feel like any manager in this modern day can be at a club for 26 years. It's not, unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but that's just my take. Uh, you fair it, I think you're looking into a bit too deep. I don't think he'll be here for 26 years. Um, Oz, are you an all business type of manager or sentimental manager? I think I would probably be, not to sound like I'm one of them, a bit of both, but if I had to choose one of the two, probably sentimental. I feel like you need to have a sort of a personal touch when it comes to coaching. In my opinion, you need to be good in terms of having interpersonal skills, especially when you manage a different age group. If you're managing a first team of a squad, it's not just going to be a certain age group. It's going to be from 18 to like 30 odd. So you have to manage players a certain way, and I feel like you have to use psychology where you have to understand what makes an individual tick, and everyone will be different in a squad. Some players like a hug or arm around the back, to feel appreciated or to feel valued. Some players like but tough love where you know push them and challenge them and make sure they react based on what feedback you've given them. So there's a bit of a variation in that regards. But I do feel like it's important to create a harmony within the squad and make sure that everyone feels a part of the cause, which is, of course, helping the team win and become successful. So I feel like I might fall into that sentimental bracket, which I'm sure a lot of us fans would probably put Klopp in that category. I'm not saying I'm Klopp, but I really liked his management style, and I feel like he got the best out of players during his time. So that's probably where I would think I would fall in if I was a football manager. Look, we are back in sixth place. Ozzie, that win didn't do anything. It didn't, but I'm sure it gives the team a bit of a boost in terms of morale and gives us confidence into the upcoming games. And we face a tough fixture in Man City this week. All business matters those who failed in the long run. The first 35 minutes were rubbish. Ozzie, individual quality won again for a start. Yeah, Ekatika was on fire, that's for sure. Jacquet is good covering when the fullback is out of position like Ibu. That's one of the things that I noticed as well when I watched Jacquet's compilations is that he didn't he doesn't start in a right back role, but there was transitions in games where he's literally on the byline and covered the fullback really well, very comfortable on the ball, and you know, there weren't many players that could get past him because of his build, his pace, and his understanding of the game. So that's something we do need because there's no point of signing defenders that are, you know, prone to only playing in one role. They need to be able to attack the channels if needed, just because of the pace that the game is played in this day and age. So yeah, that's definitely a valid point. I do see him being a player that can cover ground, but also he's one of those defenders that can drive the ball and find himself in a midfield position that presents a bit of unpredictability to the opponent because they're not expecting a centre back to be, driving the ball like that. So that's something he brings to the table that I don't think many of our defenders can do right now. So yeah, it's a very, very unique skill set to have, and I feel like it's definitely going to help with this team because one of the reasons why I feel like we've struggled, especially in the early parts, is that we weren't able to play from the back. We didn't have defenders apart from Van Dijk who could distribute the ball um, from a more of an accuracy point of view, but also carry the ball where you have to take a bit of a risk by getting past the attacker and then driving the ball and then finding an opening in the middle of the park. That's something we've not done enough, in my opinion. Konate is a player that does do that, but hasn't done it enough this season. That might be down to low confidence or it might be a tactical thing. I'm not entirely sure. Matip was fantastic at doing that for us over the years. So Jacquet kind of falls into that bracket where he is able to carry the ball and give us a different dimension from the back. So I'm excited about the signing. I think he'll do really well for us in the long term. Now, moving on to the next transfer that was roaming, I would say, yesterday, and that is Luciarel Geertruida. Now, Liverpool were very close to signing the Dutch defender yesterday, but unfortunately, the deal was called off. Sunderland were not in a position to sanction the move, although the player wanted to move to Liverpool, and the club were also willing to proceed. So, my thoughts on this speculation that occurred yesterday. Um, Now, when this rumor popped up on my phone, I looked at it and I thought, you know what? It makes perfect sense. Geertruida is a former final player and he's played on a slot, so both players and coach will know exactly what to expect from each other. In terms of his profile, he's probably exactly what we need in the squad right now. A versatile defender who can cover a number of positions, as he's played centre back, right back, left back, and centre mid, or I'll say defensive mid in his career. And currently, he's playing for Sunderland. So he's already played a handful of games in the Premier League. So he knows exactly what to expect when it comes to English football. So for me, this loan signing made perfect sense. So honestly, I was a little bit disappointed that this move didn't materialize, as I thought he would have provided quality depth in our squad. Now, I'm not going to say that he would have been a world class signing or anything of that notion. No, he wouldn't have. And some fans might even counter and say that, well, Geertruida's not even that good. He barely plays for Sunderland. But I'm sure those fans were also listing Geertruida as a player that we should have signed a couple of years ago when Slot first joined the club, because we were linked with so many fine players at the time. So I kind of disagree with that. I do believe that Geertruida is a talented player, and I think he would have been a great addition to our squad. And on a loan deal as well, it would have been a huge gamble. He just would have provided us with that cover, and I feel like we needed that sort of insurance for some of the positions in our defense. So unfortunately, it never could. If we had got Geertruida and Jacquet as well, then I feel like that would have been a fantastic conclusion to the window. But unfortunately, we weren't able to sign someone for now, which, yeah, hopefully it doesn't cost us, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, moving on, Liverpool have been linked with another player from the Eredivisie, and his name is Kees Smit. Now, Liverpool are interested in signing the AZ Alkmaar midfielder, and apparently he's available for transfer. And Smith is admired by Liverpool. It's not the first time I've mentioned him. I mentioned him before in a previous transfer talk show. So don't be surprised, if this rumor continues to pile up as time goes on, because there has been solid interest in the past. So my thoughts on the player, in terms of what I've seen, very talented, capable of playing in a double pivot in our formation, but can also play in that advanced midfield role. Uh, Apparently, super agent Jorge Mendes is trying to engineer a move and get out AZ Alkmaar as much as possible. So they're trying to get in the region of 25 to 35 million pounds. I think in terms of his valuation, 25 is probably the right amount. I wouldn't go higher than that personally. And even though I've said that he's a talented player, I will still have some reservations about signing him. From what I've seen, I feel like he may not be ready for the Liverpool first team right now. And also, I think I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think he may struggle with the pace and the physicality of the league. But like I mentioned about Jacquet as well, uh, there won't be huge pressure for Smith, I should say, if he was to join Liverpool. He wouldn't be expected to deliver immediately. He'll be given the time to get accustomed to the way Liverpool train and also the level of play in the Premier League. So if we sign him, I would be pleased, because I do feel like he's a player with great potential. But from a midfield signing point of view, I hope the club are focusing on signing a DM, because that for me is more of a priority than signing a box to box midfielder, which is what Smith is, as I believe we have plenty of players like that in our squad already. So let's see, what the future holds in terms of Smith. He has been linked with the likes of Barcelona in the past as well. So he's a player that's very much sought after in Europe. So let's see, which club he joins in the summer. And before we close the show, I thought, just when we've been linked with, a couple of defenders, we've been linked with another two new names in Yuri Bass and Ryan Flamengo. Now, my thoughts on this, I find it funny that, we're in desperate need of defenders right now, but we've not been able to get anyone through the door in this window, which, yeah, is a bit of a shame. And look, in terms of the players, I've seen bits and bobs of them. I'm not going to say I've seen too much of them. And personally, I'm not too sure, if they are good enough to join Liverpool. Just me, I would have reservations about signing players from the Eredivisie, apart from Reed, who, of course, is the right back at Feyenoord. I think he looks like a special talent. And look, I understand, we're planning for the future, but this seems a bit ridiculous. We've been linked to so many defenders. In fact, we've actually signed 4 centre backs this window. Jacquet, of course, he will be a summer signing, and Duque, 17-year-old Austrian defender, he will join in the summer as well. We signed him for 2.6 million. And Dai, 18 years of age, £1 million. I'm not sure if he has joined now, but he's definitely one for the future. And Koya, who I believe is, I think he's involved in the under 21s. I might be wrong, but he would be a player that would have been given that pathway rather than a player for the first team right now. And the 3 defenders I mentioned, Ndukwe, Dai, and Adekoya as well, they'll be playing under 21s, whether it's now or next season, whenever their contracts present themselves in terms of when they will start for Liverpool. So I won't be surprised if either of those players get involved in the first team next season because I do feel like they are players of high potential, especially in Ndukwe and Dai. In Ndukwe, more that's the one I'm looking towards. I can see him being involved in the first team next season. Just from what I've seen, he looks like a very, very special talent. And something I raised a few months ago, I'll ask the question: are we switching to a back three in terms of the long term? Because that would make sense, especially if we're signing a load of defenders. And I did say this a few months ago. If we had signed Mark Gahey, I genuinely believe we could have actually played a back three, and it would have added the right balance because you've got Kirkes, Frimpong, your two fullbacks slash wing backs in the position, and I feel like it would have maybe given us a better balance in the team if we had a solid defender like Gahey in our squad. But you know, we'll never know as he's now a Man City player. But in terms of Flamingo and Bass, I don't think they're good enough for Liverpool. They might be good defenders in their own rights, but to be a Liverpool defender, you have to be, a type of talent that stands out, and I don't think they're quite good enough. But if I had to choose between the two, it would probably be Ryan Flamingo as he looks more aggressive, and I feel like he reads the game very well. So that would put him in a good position if he was to move to the Premier League. And in terms of players that I want to see, I don't want us to just sign young defenders that will just come in and be part of the squad. I do want us to sign a mix, and I think we need a balance. And especially with Van Dijk only having 1 year remaining of his contract, I hope it gets extended because I love Van Dijk. But if it doesn't, we need to sign someone that is ready made and not one that is a project player, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm dreaming of signing an elite defender like a Schlotterbeck or Bastoni. For me, I think even though I really rate Bastoni, I think for what we need and for what I think is best for the balance of this team, I think Schlotterbeck would be the dream signing for me. So let's see, if that occurs in the future. So that is all of the transfer rumors as part of our transfer talk segment. I'm just going to go through some of the final comments and then we will close the show. That says no player rating, Ozzie. I've kind of put player ratings to one side. I feel like it was getting a bit too stale for me. So I thought I'd rather talk in more detail about the game because I've spoken 48 hours after the game. I feel like it might just be better for me to do a sort of top end sort of review. So yeah, for me, I don't really plan on doing player ratings, but you never know, I might bring it back at some point. Eredivisie is not a top league. That's why I mentioned, Steve. I do have reservations about signing players from there, and a lot of these players that we've been linked to, these are two defenders. Kees Smit is a midfielder, and I feel like if you sign those type of profiles, they should not be players that we expect to be in the starting lineup straight away. They should be players that are in the squad, and we train them and then get them ready to be transitioned into the first team. That would be the right way to do it. But I agree. It's not the best league in terms of quality. But what I will say is that it's a league that develops a lot of technical players, which I think will is what we would need in the future. But there needs to be a balance. It can't just be pure technique. It's got to be players that are adapt to physicality, especially in English football. So we've got to find those hidden gems that can do a bit of both. Uh, Steve said, I'll rate Liga NOS in Portugal League One and Turkish Super League higher. Um, I get what you mean. I think Liga 100%. I rate that higher than the Divisi. Turkish Super League, I probably wouldn't say that if I'm being honest with you. Actually, maybe slightly because I feel like they, especially the bigger teams like your Galatasaray and your Fenerbahçe's and Besiktas, they always sign good players from across Europe. So yeah, I guess in that regards maybe. But remember, Eredivisie is more of a league that really focuses on homegrown. They really try and promote their own Dutch players, which I do like to be honest with you. Whereas these other like the Turkish league, they have the financial power to sign an Osimhen and Icardi, those type of players. So it's a different kettle of fish when it comes to finances. In terms of the Portuguese league is probably more exciting to watch in terms of quality. I'd probably say it's a level playing field, but maybe I have a little bit of a stigma towards the Portuguese league because we've signed players there in the past and they haven't worked out. So Arsenal are understanding that with Gyökeres right now. Steve says the gay saga scared me. Also, I'll be hate watching Glasner every where he manages. I hear that, and look, he's been saying some crazy, not crazy, crazy, but he's been saying some rash things in press conferences. So yeah, he's ready to go, isn't he? He just doesn't want to resign because, of course, he probably misses out on compensation money. So he's just trying to play that game where he's hoping to get sacked rather than handing in that resignation letter. But let's see what the future holds for Glasner. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning. Shout out to Ozan, shout out to Bo, shout out to Daz, shout out to Dylan Steve, and shout out to Double D. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now in terms of upcoming shows, don't have anything planned for tomorrow. Or Wednesday, to be fair. But if there's anything that comes to mind, then I will definitely do some impromptu shows. So the best thing to do is hit that notification bell so you know exactly what time the live streams will begin. But on Thursday or Friday, actually, I'll have a look. But we'll do the match preview of Liverpool versus Man City. This is going to be a big game. It's at Anfield, so hopefully we have home advantage. And yeah, let's hope we can get the win over Man City, who, to be fair, they've not been in great form uh, in recent weeks. In the last 5 games, they've only won once, and they've drawn 3 times and they've lost one. So maybe this is the right time to play them. But then again, I kind of want them to climb up the table and pip Arsenal for that top position. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.